For all hard rock, heavy metal bands needing worldwide exposure at affordable prices, Online Metal Promo PR is taking bands from the underground to above ground. Visit their official website at onlinemetalpromo.net. onlinemetalpromo.net.
With your hosts, Wayne Newell, Greg Narlow, and Lou Maddox.
Welcome to Rat Cell Review. Today we are here with Stu Marshall from a plethora of bands. You have so many bands.
Thanks, Wayne. Thanks for taking the time to have a chat, mate. It's great to be here.
Yeah, no problem. And actually, you're wearing a shirt of one of your bands right now, Night Legion. Now, Night Legion, you're releasing a new album with that band?
Yeah, so I guess that's where the Arkenstone tie-in comes in. We are releasing a new album with Massacre Records. We re-signed with them, and the second album will be out in the first quarter next year.
Oh, very cool. Now, I was reading your because I'm friends with you on Facebook actually, and I was reading a post that's been like 20 years or something since you had an album out with that band.
Yeah, so what had happened was this is actually the first time in 20 years I've released an album without mixing it.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So I've been lucky enough to release I think about 15 releases in the last 10 to 12 years with different bands, and I've mixed them all. And there's an inherent horror,
right?
when you mix it, usually that the truth of that is that it's to save money,
right?
Because getting a genius like Andy Sneap or someone like that can cost 30-40 grand. So in the bands I've been in, I have an interest. I've had an interest in mixing, and so I thought I'll give it a go, but it's inherently difficult because you write the music and you really just want to hand it to someone else to color it. Whereas, and I also take all the hits when people say the production sucks. So,
right.
You're sort of going, oh, do you like my songs? Oh, and do you like the production? So this is a wonderful opportunity. We're working with an incredible engineer and studio, Monolith Studios. And just this morning, I got the final mixes through from them, and I got a bit emotional, to be fair. It felt very good to hear them, and listening to them. It was, in the studio was amazing. So yeah, mate, first album in 20 years I haven't mixed, which is wonderful for me.
Yeah, actually, my band, our singer, he does all the mixing and mastering, but he loves doing it. I go ahead, do it if you want, but he's good at it, and he likes it. Is that something that did you learn to do that while you were recording music, or did you know how to do that already? Or did you go to school?
I did learn. Yeah, I learned the hard way by making so many mistakes. I think the album that I referred to in that post was a solo album called Songs of War and Vengeance.
Okay.
That when I say solo, I wrote all the music, and then I had singers come in and write all the lyrics and melodies. So, certainly a shared solo project. But the production on that first album for me is really hard to listen to now. But at the time, it was the best I could do, and it sort of progressed and increased from there, mate. So,
right, yeah, cool, very cool. So what's going on with Arkenstone? You got a new album coming out with them, or what's going on?
Yeah, so the Arkenstone EP was released. I think it's a bit blurry. Came out last year, and it got some great reviews and some nice. This was born out of COVID, right? So,
right, okay.
We couldn't tour, we couldn't do any of that sort of stuff. So, I had a lot of material left over from the last Death Dealer album, and I approached a guy called Louis Georgievsky, the singer, who I worked with in Empires of Eden, and we got together and did some music. So we did the EP with view to do an album, and we started writing for an album, and I kind of looked to my left-hand side, and I'm like, hang on, I've got to do a second Night Legion album. There's a label. they're begging for the album. Why not? And we had a separation with the singer in Night Legion. Singer and the drummer are in another successful band called Darker Half.
Okay.
And they took off on touring, and they were quite busy. So getting that album sort of took 2 years of writing requests, but really not getting anything back. And it's because the guys were too busy. I understand all that. There's no bad blood. But I needed to get an album done. So we had a talk. They moved on, and the lead singer position was free, and Louis came in to a full-time Night Legion role. And we've taken some of that material, and it's now become the Night Legion album. So the great thing about Arkenstone is that it's there for us. If we want to do an album next year, we can. The style's slightly different. So with Arkenstone, it's a little bit more old school Candlemass, old school Manowar, just dark, powerful, kind of evil heavy metal. Whereas the Night Legion stuff, it's a bit more Queensryche-y, it's a little bit more Halloween, it's a bit more up. And so that's a cool thing about those two singular projects is what they are. Yeah,
very cool. Now you mentioned Manowar, and you're in Death Dealer with Ross the Boss. How is that working with Ross the Boss, or being in a band with Ross the Boss?
Look at my face, man.
Yeah.
It's a dream come true. It's been 10 years now with Death Dealer.
Right.
And it's been a dream come true all the way through, not only working with Ross, but being privileged to be one of the few people that have ever played guitar with him on stage in a band. He's always been in a one guitar band. Right. We write off each other. So apart from the fact that I've idolized Ross my whole life, we've become buddies, and he'll throw down a lead and I'll work off that. And then he'll come back to me and ask me to critique what he's played. And so we have this great symbiotic guitar thing happening. But also too, Death Dealers, me and Sean Peck. Right. I don't know if I know people know Sean through various projects like Cage, his band Cage, and also the Three Tremors. And Sean's an incredible powerhouse, great writer, great lyricist, and great teammate too. He's very enthusiastic, and as you know, in a band, it's great to have enthusiastic guys that. Over the course of a year, the energy needs to continue in a band. It's always very, very difficult, as you well know. So,
Sean has a lot of enthusiasm.
He does. He's great. And here's the other beautiful thing too, and I'm sure you can relate being in a band. You write a song, you send it to the singer. In 2 days, I get vocals back.
Right.
I don't have to badger anybody to get stuff done. So that's part of the dream too, is getting such an immediate response. And I'm the same, if I say I'm going to deliver tomorrow, chances are you'll get what I say I'm going to do. So really good things there. And the fourth Death Dealer album is mixed, mastered, ready to go. We're just waiting for that right time, because I've sort of firmly said I'm not putting this album out without touring. It's just going to disappear into the ether without any shows. So,
right.
Man, there's lots of good stuff going on, and we're just excited.
Yeah, because Death Dealer, it's a powerhouse band you got there, and I've been a follower since, because I'm a huge fan of Cage, so I know, and Shaw's been on the show a few times as well. But Death Dealer, I've been buying all the fan packs and everything that come out when they're all released and everything. So, and I just heard the EP probably at the beginning of this year, or whenever that was, when actually had Ross the Boss on the show to talk about it. But it would be awesome if you guys do some touring and stuff like that, because I know Sean does some touring with the Three Tremors and the Cage. He's actually been out here by my way a few times, but it'd be nice to see Death Dealer come out.
Yeah, well, the first and second album, we did a bunch of touring. We did Europe, we played Moscow, we did a whole bunch of cool stuff. And then the third album got released, and, everyone got busy. Ross's solo band took off, and he was flat out. Sean was real busy with Dennis Sherman at the time. And, there was really no support on touring. And so we've just said, let's just hold off on this album. It's special. Every band thinks their album's special, but this one's really cool. So let's get it right. Let's go and do some American touring. We're talking with Japan at the moment, and I'm trying to get something happening in Australia for the boys too.
Oh, wow, very cool. You were in the band Dungeon. I'm a fan of Dungeon, and obviously you're from Australia. You still live in Australia, right?
Yeah, I'm in Sydney. Yeah, just south of Sydney in a place called Ambervale.
Okay, cool. So how is it being in the band Dungeon? Because I was a big fan of them too,
Yeah.
and now they're dissolved. So
Wow.
how did that go?
Yeah, dude. Dungeon, what a great time that was. So for your viewers, that's about 20 years ago now,
All right.
which makes me feel very old. In 2002, I joined a Sydney band called Dungeon, who in at the time they were kind of the go-to band in Sydney, very popular.
Right.
And I was super lucky to join that band just as it was on this massive trajectory with we toured with Megadeth through Europe.
Wow.
That's a really fun story. We were playing the 3 shows in support of Megadeth in Australia, and literally at the last show, Dave Mustaine comes backstage to me. I was the only one backstage at the time. And he's like, "Can I talk to your manager? My crew really love your band, and we'd love you to come and tour Europe with us." One of those moments that just you dream of happening. Anyway, cut forward. 2 weeks later, we land in Holland.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And,
Wow.
so we did that and a bunch of supports and a bunch of Japanese shows. An amazing experience. There's some footage up on YouTube for you viewers to check out. If you put Dungeon Live in Japan, you can kind of see the band at its peak, and an amazing experience. It all came to a crashing end at the end of the Megadeth tour with personalities and whatnot. But
Right.
exciting time, and was the first time I was able to kind of flex as a writer. I'd never written songs really before, and Tim really coached me through the writing process. And an album called One Step Beyond. I've got a copy of it here. There's a fair bit of me on that album from a writing perspective. So that was exciting to be the first album really that I'd put out that I was part of instead of just playing solos.
Right. Right. Very cool. Yeah, because I've been a fan. I mean, I'm still a fan of Lord. Do you talk to those guys still at all, or?
You know what, dude? After the Dungeon thing, it's been more sort of casual. Hey, how you doing at
Right,
gigs
right.
and stuff like that. But I think it was a bit acrimonious when it all sort of went down, and
Right.
Tim's gone on to be successful with Lord, and that's been great, and it's been nice to see. No real contact.
That's a shame, but still cool to hear you a part of something that you enjoyed doing. Now, I hear
Yeah.
you work with Mike LaPlante a lot. How do you what do you think of him? 'Cause he's another bassist that's in 20,000 different bands.
The sweetest guy on the planet.
Yeah.
True professional. I think one of the best, and I say unknown, one of the best unknown bass players on the planet. I think he's one of the best bass players alive,
Right.
and people don't really know it. So I think in this world, with the Billy Sheehans and dudes like that first come to mind, Mike is equally up there with that. And man. I think the best credit I can give Mike is I'll write a song, I'll put time and effort into it, I'll compose it, we'll get it all done, I'll send him the track, and then what I get back elevates the material.
Wow.
I could never have thought it would be that good.
Right.
Like his musicality, what he does as a bass player, just absolutely provides incredible elements. So, he's on the Arkenstone EP. He also appears on one track on our new album with Night Legion.
Yeah.
I just love the guy. He's just the nicest dude, and total professional. Meticulous, and he's a cool guy on the road too. He's a good guy to hang with. Right, that's important.
Oh yeah, of course. You don't want to be stuck with some guy you don't like.
Yeah,
yeah, because he's actually in another band. Well, I don't know if he's still in the band. Them, you probably heard of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays with them once in a while. So, and I'm friends with the singer, so he's always told me about Mike LaPlante and how much he thinks he's a great bass player. So
incredible.
Yeah. So you did post a song of Empires of Eden, like a remix. So are you planning on remixing that whole thing, or is it just the one song?
It's funny, man. Okay. Let me unpack this. There were 4 albums I released for Empires of Eden, and I didn't call it Stu Marshall's Empires of Eden because, as I said, all the singers wrote all the lyrics and melodies, so it felt like it was more like a band thing.
Right.
To answer your question, ultimately, I'd love to remix all 4 albums. I also think those 4 albums, it's personal view, they just never got the attention they deserved. There were some good meaning labels that took them and released them, but they didn't really give them the shot that a label like Massacre would do, or AFM, or Nuclear Blast. So I'm really thinking of taking those 4 albums, finding the best 12 songs, and releasing, I guess it is a best of, but it's a best of a bunch of albums people don't know about. So it sounds a little egotistical to go, the best of Empires of Eden. Well, people are going to be going, who's Empires of Eden?
Right, right.
So the answer is yes, I'd love to remix the whole lot and put them out. And I think when I get a break, a 12-month break, I can dive back in and probably do that, that fifth best of kind of thing.
Right.
Because, there's some cool stuff like Udo Dirkschneider sang a song, Ralph Sheepers sang a song, Rob Rock, Mike DeMeo, who's an incredible melodic rock singer. He sang in Riot for a while. So, Jeff Martin from Racer X.
Oh, wow.
Mike Vasera from Malmsteen. So there are all these great vocalists on these albums. I'd really love to find the best tracks and rekindle it, because I find it hard to listen to some of the early production now.
I'm sure your production has improved since then.
Yeah, in fact, while I have remixed it, I would probably go to Monolith Studios with this guy Chris Themelka, who's just done Night Legion. I'd probably just give it to him to do, because my production has improved, but he's going to take it to another level that I can't.
Yeah. Sometimes I would imagine it's kind of hard to mix your own stuff, because you have your thoughts in mind, but somebody else might have it, a better thought in mind, what they want it to sound like, and then it becomes bigger, So I totally. My singer's the same way, because when we first started our stuff, he's like, maybe I should send it out, because I'm having my own ideas of what I want it to sound like, and maybe it doesn't sound right, but he's doing fine, so we just leave it. What is your a favorite tour that you've done so far with any of the bands you've been in?
Oh wow, man. The first time you go to Japan, it's the greatest time of all. I must admit, that was back in 2002, I think, with Dungeon was the first tour to Japan. Packing bags to get on a plane and go and play heavy metal. Amazing, right? So, and the first time you do that, it's very much, pinch me moment. So I do remember and savoring that experience at the time was pretty cool. But as far as the best tour, the Death Dealer tour we did of Eastern Europe, where we did an arena run, Serbia, we did Belarus, we did Moscow, we did St. Petersburg. There's some cool footage up on YouTube with that stuff too. So, and they were big crowds, and we seemed to win them over. It was really cool. You go out going, people don't really know us that much, and then you're getting chance at the end. So that was cool, and we had different cultures. Every day was a different culture, so that was kind of cool for us as well. To do that. So yeah, the Eastern and European tour with Death Dealer was awesome.
Very cool. Now, since you've worked with a lot of people, is there one person that you do want to work with? There's somebody you have in mind and either can't get in touch with them or hasn't responded, or?
Yeah, it's it's certainly lofty, but I'd love to write an album for Rob Halford.
Okay. Yeah.
I would love to compose an album, because I think obviously Rob is Rob, right? As in, he's untouchable.
Right.
Even some of the stuff that people, I think even the 2 album he released is palatable these days. It was shunned back in the day, but I think some really cool orchestration and some big dark evil orchestrated sections and some heavy, Priest of my band. Priest is my favorite band in the world. But to hear some big European Wagner style epic music. Are you familiar with the Arion stuff?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool. Like the sort of stuff I'm talking about is where I think it's called Into the
Yeah.
Wormhole with
Yes. Okay.
Bruce Dickinson.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
That song with Bruce Dickinson's like I still think probably one of the best things Dickinson's ever done.
Right. Yeah. Because it's
You know,
different
so
different from what he usually does. So it was kind of cool to
yeah,
hear him doing something progressive like that. So it was cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and really expanding his voice, in a way that sits over a darker landscape than just triplet guitars and things like that people have heard. So, that's the dream. I did write to Rob's management many years ago, but like many people, I didn't hear back, and it was probably reasonably discarded
Right.
because the guy is a global touring phenomenon. So,
Oh, yeah.
when is he going to get time to sit down and do another solo album? So,
Right.
yeah. But anyway, you got to hope.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day. There's always a chance, right? You can never say never.
That's it. Never say never.
Yeah. Now, is guitar the first thing that you started playing, or did you play another instrument?
Pretty much guitar was the first thing for me at a super young age. And then, the Ace Frehley thing caught me in the 70s, late 70s, and Thin Lizzy and Sabbath. And, but yeah, I'm primarily a guitarist. I do play bass poorly. I'm getting lessons off Michael Lapon soon, so he can help me. But yeah, mate, mostly guitar. I can do all the keyboard stuff, for writing orchestral parts and things like that. So,
Right.
the drum programming,
Right.
all the tools that are at our disposal, but I'm not a drummer and I'm not a keyboard player. So, yeah,
Right.
guitar's it, mate.
That was your family like into music, and they got you into music, or how did you get into playing guitar?
Yeah, I guess only child, and
Okay.
nothing to do, and discovered Kiss. I saw Kiss on TV with Ace Frehley and just went, that looks cool.
Yeah.
And then my cousin, I think I was about 6, and my cousin had some electric guitars in his house, and it was just like the come to Jesus moment for me. And I was like, I just couldn't take my hands off it. And he generously turned to me and just said, just take one,
Wow.
And so that changed my world to the obsessive collector that I am now as well. So,
Right. What's your favorite guitar to use?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm a PRS guy. I'm a PRS endorsee, and at the moment I'm using a model called a Tremonti in the studio, which is really the go-to. It's always stable. It sounds amazing. The fit and finish on PRS is amazing, but been a bit of a guitar whore over the years. I was with ESP for 15 years, and we had a great relationship with ESP Japan. But the collection's got some nice Jacksons, some really nice Les Pauls. And that's the cool thing about guitars. They all have a slightly different palette, not just tonally, but the one thing I never hear people talk about is the aesthetics.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They make you play differently. When I play a Flying V, I'm not playing clean parts of jazz. I'm writing riffs,
Right.
or if I want something that's going to challenge me from a solo perspective to think melodically, I'll grab a Les Paul.
Right.
So it's cool to grab those different tools for those reasons.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I saw some of the guitars that you posted pictures of recently. They got some kind of like weird, like puzzle looking design or something on the guitars.
Yeah, I have an airbrush artist in Sydney. I can't believe this guy's not well known yet, but
Right.
Mark Emerson from Holdfast Airbrushing airbrushes a lot of my guitars.
Oh, okay.
So we get some cool cool airbrushing. I think the guitar you might be talking about is a ESP George Lynch Kamikaze.
Okay.
That has like a kamikaze pattern finish that does look very much like a puzzle.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
That's the one. Yeah.
he's done like a camo, multi-camo sort of effect on a whole range of his. A massive George Lynch fan, so it made sense to collect some of his axes.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, like I said, it's a collection. It looks really cool. All right. So where can people go to find, do you have like a website just for Stu Marshall because you got so many bands, or how do you work your stuff? How can people find
I think it's individually through Facebook, certainly putting in the different bands. If you go to Facebook and put in Arkenstone band or Night Legion band, you'll find us straight away. Certainly on my page, Stu Marshall, I'm pretty easy to find. And that way you can get links. There's a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube as well. If you don't want to go the social route, you can, put in Arkenstone, Night Legion, Death Dealer, and you're going to get a whole bunch of material. Also, too, we're on the streaming platforms like Spotify and stuff like that.
I was just going to ask you, because I know Sean Peck is a huge stickler with the streaming thing now, and he just kind of, limiting the songs that he's putting on streaming and doing the physical releases, which is fine by me because I like the physical stuff. But how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think a blend is important, right? So for my material, I don't mind it up on Spotify wholly and solely. And I respect Sean's view. I think Sean's right when it comes to creating the packs he does. Like, all those packs are his genius.
Yep.
Tons of value for a very, very little dollar output when you look at what you get. So it makes sense if you're going to have these massive packs. Let's put a couple of songs out and people will make their mind up if they want the pack. Whereas when you're going through a label like Massacre or, I think it's cool to be on the socials. The one thing I am confused about are labels, and, I might be career limiting here, but, Metal Blade, on the day of the album, they'll put it up for free, full play on YouTube. And I don't really understand why they would do that. I think I get there's a parallel between that and having it on streaming platforms. I get it's not that different, but it just doesn't make sense to me to put the whole album up, straight away like that from the label. But anyway, I'm sure. But I think Sean's onto something.
Yeah, I'm sure to get some revenue. I know they do get some revenue from it, but how much it is, I don't know. But like you said, it's very strange. I don't know. Yeah,
and the label would be getting that revenue as well,
right?
That's something that would be. But yeah, look, heavy metal's for everybody, man. And here's the cool thing: you listen to the album for the whole thing for free. If you really like it, people are going to buy a shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
If you got good merch, people are going to buy it. People are going to come to gigs.
Yeah.
So, same time, I don't really have a problem with it. If I'd rather you be listening to my music than not.
Right, exactly, and that's the only thing that we want is everybody to listen to everybody to Stu's music and everybody's music. Keep the music alive and the live shows alive too. So that's the only thing that's going to keep all the bands going and everything. So, well, Stu, thank you very much for coming on the show. I had a lot of fun talking to you.
Wayne, thank you, mate. I had a ball, and look forward to talking with you again. And thanks for your viewers for sticking with us this long. And say good day on the socials. We'll say hello back.
All right, very cool. And good luck with the Night Legion release. And we will talk soon.
All right, mate. Enjoy yourself.
Right. Bye, everybody. RatSaladReview.com. We will see you next time. Goodbye.
Looking for some new podcasts to listen to? Well, look no further than the Rat Salad Review Network. Rat Salad Review is taking over the podcast world with plenty of shows to choose from within their network of entertaining programming, including the flagship show Rat Salad Review with Wayne Noon, Greg Noggle, and Lou Mavs, as well as occasional co-hosts Manny Mejias and James Lilquist. We also have the official Rat Salad Review spin-offs, such as Album vs. Album, Screams from the Grave, where we discuss beloved yet forgotten hard rock and metal albums of the past, and a King Diamond podcast called This Broadcast Belongs to Them. We've also got Old Man Metal's Musings, The Right Opinion with Harrison Bergeron, Beyond Bushido, a podcast dedicated to pro wrestling and MMA with James Lilquist and Eric Adams. No relation to the guy from Manowar or the mayor of New York City. The Vieira Vault with Ralph Vieira. Schmack-a-magob! Schmack-a-magob to you too, Ralph. The Timo Tolkki podcast featuring Stradivarius and Avalon founding member Timo Tolkki. The BS Sessions with Mark and Jerry. Just the Cheese Please, a podcast dedicated to cheesy films of the 1980s with Tara J. and Adam. The Friday Night Party with the great Harry Barnett and Evie. And the Music is Life podcast with Lou Mavs. The Rat Salad Review Network is your go-to one-stop shop for the best podcasts out there today. Go to ratsaladreview.com for more info and to find out where you can find, follow, subscribe, and comment on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and all streaming platforms. The Rat Salad Review Network. We're taking over.